Fresh out the oven, straight to the bank. Bentayga smelling like bank. Seats, somebody died on them. Kitty looking like somebody cried on it. Ooh, what you looking at? What you looking at? Body like cinnamon roll. Icing on the top, if you got it, let's go.
If you got it, let's go, baby.
It's about to go down, y'all. It's about to go
It's
down.
about to go down.
Yes. Welcome to another Grown Ass Women Shit No Bra Wednesday. And we are here with our segment, Cocktails with a Sexologist.
What?
When we have our girl Sonya B in the place to be, dropping it.
Yes.
Y'all heard it. It's Sonya B now, y'all.
It's Sonya B. Y'all pick that up.
Pick that up.
Pick that up.
Run with it. So we are talking about however do you want it. Good sex and communication. So we talking about it. And of course, we always have a guest in the house who is going to be in the living room dropping shit. But before we introduce her with her fabulous self, Sonya, tell them what we got coming up.
Yes. So I am, like Pastel said, Sonya B, get the name right. Sonya B, the sexologist. Yes, y'all. Somebody have been working with a branding coach. Hello. So I am excited because, of course, tonight is my segment. So this is always I've been just feeling energetic all day, waiting for the show. So I cannot wait. And just as a reminder for everybody, we go live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern for No Bra Wednesday, where we let our girls loose and we say it with our breasts, because we know that them titties be talking, y'all. So we like to get the wisdom out, honey. Just as a reminder, the first Wednesday of the month, it is either Shooting the Shit with Sonya and Paz, or we let the testosterone in the room for Ask Your Daddy. Second Wednesday of the month, it is Cocktails with a Sexologist with yours truly. And then the last Wednesday of the month, we have Money Moves with Paz. But we get to get our money and our ducats straight and put them hoes out on the street so they can actually come back and make money for us.
They need to bring some.
They need to bring some money back. So yes. So as Pastel said, we have a guest tonight, and I am so excited. I can't wait for her to introduce herself and tell us who she is, because she is going to be helping me navigate this whole conversation about talking up in the bedroom. This is going to be juicy. So yes, ma'am, Miss Sue Walker, if you could introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you got going on, ma'am.
Yes. Hello. I'm excited to be here. So I am Sue Walker, and I am a licensed clinical social worker and a certified couples and sex therapist. Yes. So I have a fully virtual private practice in Maryland where I specialize in premarital counseling, sex therapy, couples counseling. So I am your one-stop shop for couples.
Oh,
and I can't wait to dig in.
I have any appointments open because everybody needs some kind
girl, of we got some people we need to be sending over there right now. So right, exactly. Right. We need much help. I can imagine during the pandemic it was probably popping in terms of girl. Then people in each other in the space all day with the same person getting on their nerves.
Yes.
So as we said, tonight we are going to be talking about sex and communication. Mm-hmm. And however do you want it? I mean, we got to speak up, people. So we're going to talk about the importance of talking, because without communication, sex can be really, really just really effed up. You can basically not get what you want. So I know, Sue, just with respect to your practice and talking to couples all day long and talking to them about communication in the bedroom, what is it that you're seeing in general in your practice when you talk to your clients?
I see a lot of people just not being open and honest about what their needs are, what they're experiencing, what they want. Um, I still see, even though this is 2022, I still see a lot of that, his uh, uh, sexual needs are more important than mine, male, female. Um, I see a lot of, just not knowing how to open up the conversation about it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
These are couples who you're talking
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you're usually always working with couples and not individual. Like, do you have people that just come individually, or is it always couples?
Yes, I'm all couples all day.
Okay. All right. Couples all day. Okay. All
Mm-hmm.
right. That's a lot of work, child. God bless you doing the Lord's
Yes,
work.
it is.
So she's doing the Lord's work.
about.
So so I think, so you touched on an important part, and that's not even knowing how,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of like what has us even there. Because I think that, to me, in my research and in working with the clients that I work with, one of the biggest things I see is that, one, we're not taught how to talk about sex, and so somehow there's this idea that we're supposed to know how to do this.
Yes, very much so. So, yes, you hit the nail on the head. We live in a society, in American culture, where, we don't teach healthy sex and sexuality.
Mm.
If we talk about it at all, usually it's don't do it. When they're young, just don't do it. Or we're teaching, oh, don't touch that, bad, dirty, nasty. So the messages, there's so many negative messages people get, that when it comes time and you're there, you're in the mix, and you don't know what to say. So a lot of times they're not saying anything at all. Or I see a lot of, you know, they're not getting their sex education in a healthy place. So, they're getting it from porn, and no judgment on porn, but I like to put it in its place. It is fictional entertainment.
I know that's right.
Please
Fictional
say it again for the people.
entertainment. Yeah, right. Say that shit again.
I'm
So,
going to say it again. Porn is fictional
mm,
entertainment. So I
mm.
like to say that, well, someone once said, I don't know where I got this quote, but I'm stealing it, that learning about sex through porn is like learning about gravity from skydiving. So
Mm.
it's too much, it's too fast, and it can be dangerous. So we've got to open up those lines of communication, and we got to learn how. And that's a lot of what I'm doing with my couples.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because we have to learn. I know one of the things that I talk about with women, just with respect to learning how to communicate, is that first you have to learn what you want in order to be able to communicate anything. And that's a really big thing that's missing, because a lot of us have not explored and have no idea what we even want. So don't have the capacity to communicate with anybody else. What are you finding in that area?
Oh, I agree. I agree. If people, women in particular, are expecting, the man to be able to give her an orgasm and give her this and please her this and that, but if you don't know what pleases you in the first place, you've got to teach. This is a teaching thing. It's a reciprocal thing. Hopefully,
Mm.
you're with somebody who's open and wants to learn. Because if you're not, get rid of that person. But yeah, you've got to know what pleases you. So yes, you need to explore yourself, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
So
Yeah.
how do timid, people who would like, and
Right. Exactly that.
I'm just gonna throw it out there, but there's some church folks who are a lot of church folks who are in bondage. Who
Mhm.
are how do they explore what they want? You know what I'm saying? When there's such a
Mm.
stigma around sex in
Mhm.
general.
Mhm. Well, I like to hit that nail on the head and say, where in the Bible does it say you can't explore?
Mm.
We put a lot of religion around things, but where does that say that? It
Mhm.
doesn't. It
Right.
doesn't. And so I say, if you can, we have to work a lot with those negative beliefs, and
Right.
it starts so young. If a parent sees a little kid, touching themselves, they're like, stop, bad, dirty, nasty, and
Mm.
that's the message that's ingrained.
Yeah.
Or good
Mhm.
girls don't, or we shouldn't do that. And so I have to, work a lot about that. That it's your body. It's healthy. Uh, if you don't know how to please yourself, how can you teach someone else to do that? So you got to start slow, right? They're not going to go 0 to 60. You know,
Right. Yeah.
start slow, right?
Yeah.
I say set that scene for yourself. You by yourself, at least a good hour alone, whatever you need to do. Take a shower, you in your bed, start slow, slow.
Mm.
right? And they're like, a lot of times they're, ooh, I don't know. And so we just talk about that. We work around that, right? We've got
Well,
to talk about it.
don't get specific, Sue. What you mean?
Yeah, yeah, you're right, right. Yeah, we get down in it.
So,
Okay.
what does slow mean? What does that look like?
Slow
Yeah.
means you might need to start with first a little bit of self-love, right? Because we're really hard on ourselves and our bodies and think we got to be perfect. So you might need to stand in front of the mirror and look at yourself naked a little bit and know that whatever is going on, that you're beautiful first and
Mm.
foremost, right? You got to work on some self-love. And then yes, when I say start slow, take, like I said, carve out that time, a good hour when you know you're going to be alone, door locked, just you. Set the scene for yourself. You got to learn how to make love to yourself. So
Yes, goodness.
dim the light, burn a candle. What kind of music? Relax. You need to relax. It's so much about relaxation. And then I'm not saying you have to go straight for the genitals, right? But you could just start touching your body softly, slowly. What feels good, you know? Because your whole body is an erogenous zone. The
Yeah,
whole body, from the top of your head to the toes. So maybe it's the inside, the nape of your neck that feels good. Maybe it's the inside of your arm. Maybe it's the back of your knee. You don't know if you don't start to touch, right?
exactly.
So when I mean go slow, I mean just go slow, a little bit at a time, and be easy on yourself and be soft. But it's relaxation first and loving on yourself a little first.
Yeah. And then that actually, a lot of that is going to be deciding to put yourself, to even carve out that time. Because even as you were saying it, I was thinking about how many of us have a thing that one says we're moving like this all day. And
Yes,
we're certainly not saying I deserve the this amount of time. Hell, a lot of us can't even go to the bathrooms by yourself because there's some
that
little
is true.
person banging on the door or somebody needing your attention. So
That
it's
is,
meaning to first say that I'm important enough to have this, and that
yes,
it's important for me to do this for myself. And yeah, like I love that you said like making love to yourself and being able to find out like what turns you on. You're just
yes,
finding out what gets me excited, what music, what, whether it's being in a bathtub. I mean, what's sexy for you.
yes, yes. I like what you said about what turns you on. I talk about your accelerators are the things that turn you on. The inhibitors are things that turn you off, right?
Right.
You've got to explore that for yourself and know that over time those things will change.
That part.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people get stuck and think that 20-year-old self is the same as 40, 50-year-old self. Even physiological changes like menopause,
Mm,
things are going to be different, and we have to reinvent ourselves regularly, really, not just every 10 years, regularly. You have to, your tastes change, you know.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So teenager you is not the same as 20-year-old you, as 40-year-old you, as 60-year-old you. And people have healthy sex like all the way into their 80s. The research goes all the way into the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
And
and and widening your definition of sex. It's not just intercourse.
Right.
It's anything sexual. So like I said, the whole body, whatever's turning you on. So it's widening your mindset as well.
yeah, and bringing you joy and making you excited, like making you feel good.
Yeah.
And Posh, you got that was a good point because it makes me think about how the communication starts first with yourself. So
Yes.
if you're not listening to you and seeing that note, doing the same thing, I like to call it playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. Like you have your go-to and you just do that same thing over and over again, and you don't explore that your body has changed and actually you would actually like something different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very much so. So you kind of think of it as like anytime something there's shifts in your life, you probably need to look at your sex life again. Did you go from working, 40 hours a week to 60? It's a big
Mm-hmm.
change. Did you go from no kids to kids? Did you go from grade schools to teenagers? What's changing? Yes. Are you perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause? So many changes. Are you experiencing some health challenges? So everything impacts our sex life.
What
I,
about when there are things that are? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, no. You go ahead. I just said got it. You go ahead.
What about when there are things that are going on with your partner that are inhibiting you from having, what you need, you know, as far as intimacy? Like you would like it from your partner, but it's no longer happening. How do you,
Mm-hmm.
how do you counsel on that?
Well, again, you got to be able to create that safe space to talk. Everybody's partner is different. Some might be receptive, some might shy away from it, some might try to shut it down depending on their comfort level with talking about it. But that, first and foremost, that safe environment to talk about it and the words you use are really key, right? Yeah. So, the time to talk about it is not when you're in the bed naked and you just had a terrible sexual episode. That's not the time.
Right. It's not the time to curse them out and say, I don't know what the fuck you was thinking, but this ain't gonna work.
That was boom.
No. I tell people to take it outside the bedroom. I say we got to have table talk sex life. Kitchen table, dining room table, coffee table. Get around a table and start having some conversation when it's a good time for the both of you. And don't hit them upside the head all by surprise. Say, hey, can we talk about our sex life today at 5? Can we talk about it Saturday at noon? Let them know what's coming. You'll be able to see a lot from their body language and how they react to that.
Got it. Yeah, I also saw some suggestions in terms of how to go into those conversations, because there's so many things that you can use, like seeing a video of somebody watching a video together and see how she touched her. Like, I like that. Like, and being able to talk more about what you like and what you don't like. Like, I want more of this. I like to ask clients, fill out I want more of this, less of this. So I love it when you do this. I would prefer not to do that.
Yes. And the key that you all said is the I statements. I would like, I think, I fantasize about. If we're going to you don't do this and you don't do that, defense mode, you're shutting them down. You're not going to get anywhere with that.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. And yes, use those mediums. Use the movie, use a podcast, use something you heard. Those are great ways to start the conversation. I agree with that, Sonia. All 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I love how you mentioned the not. So, one, you're not necessarily going to talk during the heat of the moment in terms of talking about maybe things that can be corrected. So there's kind of stuff that you can talk about before you even have sex, or at some other time other than sex, and then even after sex, but not the attacking the person after after sex. But what about the during sex? Because there is the communication during sex. What do you usually recommend during sex in terms of what you do communicate? Because we do have to have communication, because there's a whole production going on here. So.
Yes, we do. So your verbal and your nonverbal are both key. A lot of times people, if they don't feel comfortable with verbal, I say, okay, can you start with nonverbal? If you shift your body, or you gently move their hand, or you just, you moan a little and let them know that you like what they did. That's all, nonverbal communication, right? If you're not enjoying yourself, but you're laying there silent, that's no good, right?
Or if you are screaming as if you just had the most amazing orgasm.
Don't get me started on that.
Yes, no, we do want to get you started. I want to hear your opinion on it, because you don't understand how much you are communicating in that moment. That this is amazing.
Yes. Okay,
so you're talking about when people are not having.
Yeah, when you're faking. Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you for pause. Clear that up.
I know
when you are pretending and it's you're not actually enjoying this.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Faking orgasms. Why would you do self-sabotage? And it's dishonest. You're being dishonest with your partner. Why are you doing that? Why? Right? What messages have you gotten that that's what you need to do? Right? If it's a male-female relationship, yes, we still have that patriarchal notion that the man's sex drive and his sex life are more important. No, right? A real man is going to want you to have pleasure. And if you lie about it, you're also backing yourself into a hole. How are you going to get out of that? It's much worse for you to come back and say, I wasn't being honest and that really wasn't working for me. I've never had an orgasm with you. Woo! That's a heavy blow.
Right. Because now, in addition to the fact that it just like now he has to question what he did, or your partner has to question what they did. But in addition, now it's like a double whammy, because you also betrayed me. So now I'm experiencing betrayal in addition. So how do you come? You're right, because how do you come back from that? Just like having to say I cheated. I mean, that's that's having to confess.
And their ego is shattered because they thought they were doing something good. So that's a hard thing to come back from. I like to kind of, we got to get behind the why. Why did you do that in the first place? because you have to be vulnerable, to be real. I didn't want to hurt your feelings, or I thought maybe it was more important, or that's what I was trying to do. You got to get a little vulnerable there because you've created some damage.
Yeah.
What about that age-old question? Did you come?
Oh yeah.
Woo! You know what? I will say, if you have to ask, it didn't happen. Most of the time.
Right.
Not always. Some people are, silently orgasmic. I don't know. It's kind of hard, but yes. I mean, we do have different levels of orgasm. Sometimes they're light, sometimes they're medium, sometimes they're really strong, right? They differ. But typically, if you didn't see any sign at all, probably didn't happen. So, but the better question is, again, when you're outside the bed, not right after you had intercourse, right? Is, hey, I wasn't quite sure if you were pleased last night. Can we talk about it?
Right. Yeah.
Or, hey, maybe you're new. I wasn't quite sure how to read you. Hey, I'm curious. I want to make sure I'm pleasing you.
Yeah, and that's where also on the flip side of their assumption that you did come, or asking or thinking that maybe you did not. There's also sometimes where we read. I know I've heard of men reading women's bodies and thinking that you have come because of maybe how wet you got, or I had one client. The guy was like, "Oh, she comes. She just lying to me because I know she's coming."
What?
I'm like, why would she be lying to you? He's like, she just don't want to admit that she coming. But I saw it was like this milky white. I'm like, you know what? She gonna cut it out. So I'm telling somebody that her body is doing. She said, I know, I never come, and he's just swearing up the tail. Right, exactly.
Right. So my question would be like, what's the harm in asking, or what are you afraid of, or why would you just assume? I always say assumptions, they're individual, they're not relational.
Right. Someone asked the question, does asking the question irritate women?
Oh, what, did you come?
Yes. That's what I believe they're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't speak for all women. I think a majority of women irritates, but I can't speak for all women. But again, when are they asking that? Is it right after the fact, or can we ask that after?
Right after,
Did you?
Yeah.
So, well, break that down in terms of what that irritation is about, so that they understand what that is. Like, what the idea that you need to ask immediately afterwards, in terms of.
Again, I think it's different things, but again, what is that about? Is it just, is he generally concerned? I really want to know if you did. I wasn't sure how to read you. Maybe they haven't had that much experience. They feeling insecure. It could be a multitude of different things. Even though it might be irritating, the response is key, because that's part of your communication. If you come at it harsh, what do you mean, did I? Or do you have to ask? I can't believe you asked me that. You're shutting down your sexual communication.
Exactly.
So you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
You are irritated.
And exactly. And the person said, then we don't have to assume, because you do need to know. You can't assume that she's had an orgasm. You can't assume that a man's had an orgasm just because, you don't always see the signs. And so you're just saying, okay, I think he did. But, we really do get to be checking in. And then that's also what I like about the concept about aftercare, which is this concept that usually is used in the BDSM community, where there's a lot of maybe physicality. And so you wanted to check in to make sure the person's okay. But that's being adopted a lot more just in the kind of more vanilla space when it comes to sex, where it's like BD, a bondage, where you have people bondage, dominance, and then this is I don't know why I can never say
masochism.
Masochism, where you might be doing things that are cause pain, but some people get pleasure from pain. So it's where the spanking is included in that, but sometimes it actually takes it to, it can be something that's a lot more harsh.
Yeah, there's a wide spectrum of that, of kink in general, light kink, heavy kink. There's a wide spectrum.
Yeah. So the
kink. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I say don't yuck. Well, is it Emily Nagoski? Somebody in their book says don't yuck somebody's yum. I think it's her.
Yeah. And I was going to say, so I was saying that community is where that idea of aftercare started, where after sex that you talk in and you check in to make sure you're okay. and that everybody kind of is like, that you're leaving the space and you feel good about what occurred. Instead of just kind of just abruptly ending it, and now all of a sudden people hopping out of bed like I'm going to watch football. Like, how are we caring for ourselves after sex is over?
Mm-hmm. And I would like people to substitute instead of "Did you come?" Say, maybe it's softer. How are you feeling? Are you feeling like you're in need of anything? A softer question.
Yeah, you
Are
want
you
some more?
satisfied?
Are you
Yeah.
satisfied?
Can I do more?
Yeah, do you want some more?
You
Would you
like-
like some more?
Is there something else you would like? A different question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that coming is always the end goal. It's the satisfaction, the feeling good, and
Yes.
feeling
Yeah.
satisfied. Because
Yeah.
I know some men who don't have, they don't come, so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If we take the focus off of intercourse orgasm and put it on pleasure in general.
yes,
Was it a pleasurable experience? Were you pleased? Do you like
Right.
I
Would you like more? Yeah.
that's the take home for today. Lord have mercy. Yes,
Ah.
more please.
And I think that also what's usually there with the "did you come," it almost sounds more like a performative. I just want to know that that I knock it out the box type of energy,
Mhm.
as a like it's more of a self-focused as opposed to focusing on her pleasure. And it takes the pressure off of a woman so that she doesn't have to, oh, let me pretend like I had an orgasm so you feel okay. So
Yeah.
it's like, just as long as you feel like I got what I wanted or I got what I needed, then we're complete.
Yeah.
There's some additional comments. I like the can I do more question. Someone wrote, did I satisfy you the way you needed me to?
Oh, I like that.
I like
Yes,
that too.
that's a good one.
I know that's right. We growing today. We gonna be asking questions.
Oh, well,
We take that out of the lexicon.
yeah.
Did you come? Stop it. We grown.
Yes.
How do
But
you
see,
treat
but I think that but the other thing is, as Sue mentioned, a lot of what we learn is from a porn space, or it may be a space
girl? You
where
better say
it's
it.
not healthy sex space.
Yes.
And there's an assumption that, and when you see porn or you see sex in Hollywood, there's an assumption that we intuitively know what to do. However, we don't. And so in some ways, those questions come from the fact that I was never not taught what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we get to, like you said, we learning today.
I agree with what you said, Sonia. I believe, if we think about, sex or sex life, it's a journey. And if you're with somebody new or old, it still should be a journey. You should still be learning. You're never going to know everything there is to know about somebody's body and their pleasure. It's going to shift. So you should keep that curiosity, right?
Mm.
What are you bringing? If you've been together for a while, what are you bringing to the table new? Can you try something different? Are you checking in? Are you pleased? Like you said, are you pleased with our sex life? Are you satisfied? What do you need? Those kind of things. Checking in regularly, right? It's a journey. As you're getting to know somebody, that same thing sexually, getting to know them sexually. And if you think, oh, I know what to do, and if you're doing ABC all the time, that's boring.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
boring.
Mary had a little lamb child
And it
playing the
might work today,
same,
but it's not going to work indefinitely.
or
Yeah.
it might have worked on Monday. It ain't gonna work on Tuesday, because
Oh,
Tuesday I have different needs. Tuesdays
yes,
I'm in a different mood.
yes,
Tuesday I might need you to just take it on out of here. Like, we need to go a whole different place. I mean, you might need a quickie Tuesday. Monday I need you to take it slow because the kids ain't got on my nerves. So it's
yes.
like, we get to communicate and arrive at the space, not thinking that what your partner um, wants all the time, and you're listening more so.
Yes. And I
I
like
think that's a great point. That's
it
awesome.
is. I like that you brought that up too, because you're right. Tuesday might be a quickie. Saturday you might need a full meal deal. You got to communicate. What do you need, right?
Mm,
What do you
yeah,
need?
yeah.
Right.
Well, it's funny. The analogy that came up for me as I was taking my notes today was that not communicating what your needs are in the bedroom is like being at a restaurant, sitting at the table, and the waiter is asking you what you want, and you not saying nothing.
Ooh.
So they're gonna be bringing you foods, trying to figure out what you want, but you're not saying what you want. You're not giving any indication as if this is good. You like the taste of the salad. You didn't like it. You're not saying nothing.
Ooh.
And they don't even know what to go in the back and make.
I agree. What's that old saying? A closed mouth does not get fed.
Girl, which would account for the high level of women not being satisfied in the bedroom.
Exactly. Exactly. It should be a mutual pleasure. They're pleasing you. You're pleasing them. Mutual, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I hear things like, well, I did say something and, they just don't change, or I was dismissed. I'm like, ooh, red flag. What is that about?
Yeah.
Did you communicate clearly?
Mm.
Did the words come out of your mouth clearly? Did you communicate outside the bedroom? Because if you're being dismissed, or if they get that kind of one size fits all mentality, well, it worked with, 20 other people. Why doesn't it work with you? Because everybody's different. Everybody's different. And like you said, Sonia, any given day, it's still different.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that person may not be ready for you. Like you say, you might have to. So the other thing that we do is are in relationships with people who are not actually there to please you. So it's about or maybe they want to, but they're not open to what's required for them.
Yes.
So sometimes we have to get clear about whether a person's actually even open or available to what your needs are. And that's not always the case.
I agree.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, because the other thing that as I was looking at communication is some of the places that we get into trouble where we're communicating with new partners, especially where it comes to what's your sex history, um, uh, whether you have any STIs or stuff like this. So often we will get into encounters with people and be too afraid to ask, and also too afraid to ask for what you need. Like, you need to put on a condom.
And also too afraid of judgment. Well, if you're packing your own condoms, what does that mean? And just all kind of things. And yes, it can be very awkward in the beginning, but know that, I like what you said earlier, that it doesn't always start off perfectly perfect. Sometimes you have to grow into that. But if you can change your mindset to know that if you communicate in the beginning, the earlier you do, then that sets the stage for your relationship, right?
Right.
Sexual history, STIs. You know what? I'm a big component of just run the test. Just get the test run, because, all this talk about body count, this and the other, get the test run. If that person's not open to get some tests run, then do you need to be involved with them? I mean, it's
Probably not.
pretty easy to do, because people are going to say what they're going to say to get what they want. And I hate to say it like that, but that's usually the case. I'm just a big proponent of, yes, have communication, but then say, okay, well, I'd like to, have these tests run. What do you think? And go on down to the clinic, and they give you a number and get the test run, you get the results. It's about your safety. Sexual safety is part of a good sex life.
Yeah.
And I would say, we're in the age of dick pics. Trade your dick pic in for a question. Yes. Trade it in for
Quest diagnostics.
I'm serious. That's it. We're saying people are afraid to, to have this communication, but sending a dick picture is like sending a selfie. When you can actually use that moment to have a real conversation. Thank you for the dick. And
or not, or no, thank you.
Well, yeah, I don't know who started that. I don't know. Let's start a movement. Trade your dick pics in for a question. Ask a question.
Yeah.
That's gonna make a difference. Tell me about what you like sexually. Yes. What do you like? What don't you? What are your boundaries? Are you sexually active? Right. Are you open to, I start with the basics.
Exactly.
So what are
and what do you like?
Questions? What are some more of those opening questions people can use when people can pose when they're in a potentially new sexual relationship? Well, like I said, I like people to start with the basics, because everybody is not out there open to have sex outside of a committed relationship or sex outside of marriage. We have a lot of faith-based people who, again, are sometimes afraid to stand up for what they want. But just like when you're first dating, or I won't even say dating nowadays, when you're first
texting, tweeting, whatever you're doing, there's basic questions you should be asking. Standard, like, not just, are you seeing anybody? Are you in a committed relationship? What are you looking for? Right? If you're getting there, how do you feel about sex? How do you feel about sex? Are you having sex with multiple people? Are you looking for a committed relationship? Are you looking for a relationship that's going to lead towards marriage? Get some of those things out of the way, right? And then, are you just looking for something sexual? Because sometimes they are, right? If you don't ask, you're never going to know. But you're also opening up the conversation, right? Opening up and saying, because sometimes people say, well, I like this one. This is an old line, but people still use it. Well, I have friends. So my question would be, well, how many of those friends do you sleep with?
Right.
What's going on? Assume that someone's doing something somewhere, unless you know that they're, strong spiritual beliefs, strong spiritual faith, and that's not something that they're willing to do, right?
Right.
What are you open to? What are you not open to? The LGBTQ community does a great job of talking about things up front sexually, right? Not so much in the heterosexual realm. So that's a cue that, could be learned. They're asking about those things, are you sexually active? What kind of sex do you like to have? Just don't assume anything. Don't assume. Just like, are you straight? Are you bisexual? Are you transgendered? Are you into monogamy? Are you into sensual non-monogamy? There's so many things going on that will walk you right into questions about sex.
I've heard. I know in the polyamorous community, there's so many, like, there are communications that are had up front because there's so many different things that people believe in, or that they actually, ways that they participate in sex. So it's almost like they feel like that they need to get these agreements on the table first, so that you're clear. And instead, we kind of have this assumption of monogamy in the monogamous community. So it's just kind of like, or the assumption or the hope. You like crossing your fingers, hoping that you're going to get what you want, and feeling like you really don't want to talk about it. So it is time that we take pages out of both of those communities' books and start having the serious conversations.
I call it, you can have an explicit conversation where you're being really clear, or you leave it implicit, what's all in your mind. And that leads to all kind of confusion. Nothing but confusion, that you can only blame yourself if you didn't ask the questions. Now, granted, something might be true, might not be honest, but at least you ask the questions. You say, I asked you that, you weren't honest, therefore, whatever the ramifications are for that, right? I hear a lot from women, well, I'm afraid if I say I want this and they're not going to want to date me, well, why would you want to waste your time? You're wasting your time.
Right.
Exactly. Do you want to have a sex life? Do you not? What kind of sex do you like? You can ask a lot of questions up front if that's what you want.
Right. Instead of just kind of jumping in there and finding out which,
Yes. And I also will ask people, prepare your questions ahead of time. You can have a little note card, be ready. If you're, mostly, if you're in the dating community, you're meeting online, right? If you find somebody interesting, you should take it offline quickly to see if they're real. Start casual, Starbucks on a coffee date, short, 30 minutes, meet, greet, right? Ask some basic questions. But, by the third time you're getting together or having some major conversation, if the subject of where you are and what you want in terms of a relationship, not committed, committed leading towards marriage, whatever your level is, right? You got to knock that out pretty quick. You need to know what you want going in, knock that out, and that will lead you that should lead you quickly into a sexual thing right? Depending on where they are.
Yeah. Try to get gauge. So now, let's say that people are, you're clear that you're in this relationship, and there's still conversation that needs to be had about what's happening in the bedroom and asking for what you want. What are some of the things that you work with your clients in terms of how to bring that up if it's really, 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 really uncomfortable for you? In terms of, like Pastel, would you say that the person's shy? Is that what you said? You either say it's shy or something like that. But
okay, so if they're really shy, maybe they need to do it over the phone. Maybe they can't do it in person at first. That's it's too intimidating or too scary for them. So maybe you should have that over the phone. I prefer in person, but you got to start. You got to know yourself and know what you're more willing to do, what you feel a little more comfortable with. And again, I'll write down your questions, right? Let the person know, hey, can we talk about sex tonight? You do on the phone. Have your questions ready so you can check them off. So in case you get a little flustered or a little nervous, you've got your list. Maybe you can't get all through them all in one question. You don't want to do rapid fire questions. That's not good, right? Maybe have your top 3 or 4 questions, see how it goes, right? And, do you need to have another question, another session? You want to keep it maybe 30 minutes. You don't want to do a bombard
Right.
unless
An
it's
interview.
flowing well. If it's flowing well and easily, keep going, right? But yeah, the rapid
Right.
fire questions don't work. But I would say do it by phone, prepare your questions ahead of time, start there.
Yeah.
And definitely let the person know that's what you want to talk about ahead of time.
Yeah. I think some of what I also saw, this and what I was looking at is the type of like your approach to the communication, specifically that you are wanting to be kind, you're wanting to be considerate, you're wanting to be open, and you're also wanting to be kind of like that whatever you're saying is moving the conversation forward. So just consider that you're talking to somebody, especially if you're in a relationship. This is somebody that you love or you care about. And so beating them over the head with how angry you are about either what you're not getting or blaming and all that stuff is not going to lead to the connection that you really want.
Right. And depending on the way you come at that conversation, you can also cause major disconnection. There shouldn't be any naming, blaming, yelling, shaming, name calling, none of that. You ain't this, you didn't do that. What's your end game going in this conversation?
Right.
What is your end? What are you trying to get at? Do you need more pleasure? Do you need more frequency? Is it quality? Is it quantity? Is it that you're missing the mark altogether? What's the end game for the conversation? I think that's really important to know going in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And where are you emotionally? If you're not in a good space, if you're really angry, not the time. You need to really be in a neutral, level-headed, calm space.
You and your partner and the
your
person. Yes.
Why you let them know ahead of time that's just what you want to talk about, so you can set that good time.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions? I see we got some grown people. Let's see.
No
more questions. People just making comments.
Came into the living room. Today is Cocktails with a Sexologist. Our special guest is Sue Walker, and we are talking about however do you want it, good sex and communication. So we've been having a really good conversation. So if you're coming in the middle, make sure you rewind to hear some of the things we've been talking about.
Exactly. So one of the one of the other things that I felt like I got when I was taking a look at just doing the research is well, of course, I said different types of talk of communication, and dirty talk, which is often can be very uncomfortable for people to participate in. However, often that's a part that your partner may actually really enjoy. So can you speak to that in terms of how that, what you usually say to your clients about including dirty talk in your during while you're in sex?
Yes. Now, mind you, some people like it, love it. Some people are very uncomfortable. Some people don't want it at all, right? If you venture down that road, you really need to see kind of the body reaction, what's happening. But if you want to learn how to do that, right? If you're like, I don't know how, I want to try that. I think a good place to start is audio erotica. Like if you listen to some stories, there's a website. It's an app. It's called Dipsia. Have you guys heard of it?
Dipsia? No.
How do you spell that?
Dipsia. It's D as in dog, I, P as in Paul, SEA. Dipsia.
Okay.
It's an app. It's not free. I think it costs $54 for a year. But they have autoerotica on there. And you can pick your stories. You can pick the type of voice. You can pick the type of relationship, anything from flirty to stranger to BDSM to heterosexual to to you name it, you get to pick. And they're short stories, usually 7 minutes to maybe 12 minutes. And it's audio. And you can kind of hear Okay, how is this kind of going down? And that's a good way to kind of see what turns you on too. I like that. I didn't like that. Ooh, I really
Right.
that makes me uncomfortable. But if it's kind of a good way to kind of hear it, or also erotic books, and maybe read it, just kind of see what speaks to you. Everything's really different, right? Um, uh, but it's sometimes it's also good to ask. Do you like a little dirty talk?
Right.
And they
Exactly.
might ask you, what do you mean by that? Right? And so what does it mean to you? What it means to you might not mean the same thing to your partner.
Yeah.
Right? But if it's something that you'd want to try or your partner wants you to try and you're uncomfortable with it, then I suggest the audio or the erotic books to kind of get a flavor, kind of see what you want to tweak and not tweak or pick and try.
Yeah, because that gives and sometimes when you're doing that, you may need to give your partner permission to talk to you in a certain way. For some people, they like, to be called certain things in the bedroom, or for it to really kind of, that sort of thing turns them on. But your partner may feel like, I can't say that to you because I don't feel comfortable. So you almost need to give permission. And sometimes it helps to even tell them specifically, call me this. Like, you have given permission. You can call me a dirty whore. I actually want you to. That turns me. I mean, I'm not saying me. I'm saying I'm giving an example. But yeah. So everybody has their thing that they like, and you really get to. Sometimes it requires giving your partner permission so that they know.
I agree, and also to know that so oftentimes the personality we have in the bedroom is not the same as when we have outside the bedroom, right? Some people might be very businesslike and very proper outside, but in the bedroom, that's their place to let loose and just let their hair down and just do whatever, right? So whatever pleases somebody is whatever pleases you. I think what's really important is that you don't judge and you don't put down. If your partner says something that you're not into, you say, oh, okay, that's interesting. I never tried it. I'm not sure that I want to, but that's interesting. I'm not, that's fine. Hey,
Right.
so I think that's really important too, because
Yeah.
the goal is to have that really good sexual communication and a really good sexual menu. So there's a lot of options on the table, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and options about what turns that you enjoy. Options for enjoyment, and this
Yes.
is where the exploring comes in, so that
Yes.
you are discovering who they are without assumption
Yes.
and what they like, and they are discovering who you are without assumption and what you like.
Yes. And when I
Yeah.
say sexual menu, I mean maybe tonight is just massage night. Maybe there's no intercourse. Maybe somebody needs a makeout session, and maybe somebody wants to be teased. Maybe somebody just wants you to tickle their toes. Maybe someone wants you just to massage their head. It could be so many different things, right? Options on the table. But again, you have to speak up about what you want.
Like you said, closed mouth don't get fed.
Don't get fed. You be real hungry.
Literally.
So what if there's a situation where one of the partners has something that is vital to their pleasure, and then their partner completely refuses, like, no, I'm not doing that. How does that work?
That's challenging. Again, the language you use is really careful, really important. If someone's saying, this is something that really I enjoy and I really like to have, you're like, no, I'm not doing that. Okay. Again, you're shutting down communication. You are rejecting something that might be really important to your partner. The question would be, instead of no, I'm not doing that, maybe it's I'm uncomfortable with that. I've never tried that. I had never thought about that. You know, what's behind that? I'm not saying you have to agree to whatever it is your partner wants to do. That's not the case. But it helps if you can tell them why,
Right.
right? Your tone and your body language are everything, right?
Right.
If you're a harsh, I'm not doing that. Wow. You know, they're going to think long and hard before sharing anything sexual with you again,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
It's kind of
So,
like that not yucking somebody's yum when you mentioned, because whatever they're sharing, they're thinking, I want this, and this would be enjoyable. And I
yes,
can hear that doesn't mean that I want it too,
right.
but certainly I don't have to attack you because of what you want to try.
Correct. And if there's something that your partner wants to try, maybe you've never tried before, you're apprehensive or nervous, whatever, you can let them know that. And if you try that, it's a gift you're giving them because you're trying to meet their needs. If you
Mhm.
decide you want to try to go there, you don't have to. But again, softer tone, curious, inquisitive goes a long way.
Right. Kind, open,
Yes.
gentle.
Gentle.
And trying
Yes.
to move the conversation forward, not
Yeah.
with an agenda. Would you say, Paz?
Now tear shit down.
Not tearing shit down.
Yes.
Exactly.
Remember, when you're talking about your sex life and your wants and your needs, that's a real vulnerable place. That's a hard, scary place for most people to go to. So if you care about this person and you want to have a healthy sex life for however long, you can't do that if you're shutting things down, if you're, harsh and cold and, real just barriers.
Yeah. And I like to remind my female clients, women clients, that men have feelings and sex is vulnerable for them as well. So somehow we have this impression that, okay, because you're a man, you tough, and I can say whatever I want to you, and that's not going to cause you to be injured. And we cause injury all the time, so we get to be careful with our words and with our body language and our attitudes, because that can shut somebody down. And especially like you talked about not having it during sex, because that can actually set a negative tone for the bedroom. Now you're trying to undo that to even get to enjoying yourself, because now the last time we went in the bedroom, you told me, shut the fuck up or whatever you did. That wasn't, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you bring up a good point. I think one thing as women we really need to understand dealing with men, if we're dealing with men, is that because of the toxic masculinity we have in our society, we've taught men from the time they were tiny, 2 years old, shut up, don't cry, don't be a punk. We're smashing all that emotion and communication out of them. And for many men, the bedroom is the only place where they can let that out. Sex is the only place where they actually let that out. And that's really important to understand that. A lot of times we're like, all he wants is sex, all he wants from me. Maybe that's the only place he feels free to express certain kind of emotions and to let it out like that. So that's something to really be cautious and careful about.
Right. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. We have, oh no, I don't see any other questions. Let me see. Did you have one?
Comment that says you need to be conducive and tangible at all times.
Conducive and tangible. Those are interesting adjectives.
Right.
Got it. All right. So let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Is there anything else that you wanted to add about that you feel like is like the main thing that you try to drive home with your clients around communication and where they really the opportunity that communication lends to having sex?
Oh, yes. That, what happens outside the bedroom impacts what goes on inside the bedroom and vice versa. Sex is not mutually exclusive. So if you're outside the bedroom, cursing each other out, things are going on, it's real wild and disrespectful, but you think you can just get inside the bedroom and things are going to be lovely, that doesn't usually equate. If it does, might be kind of toxic, So I it's always amazing to me how I get couples coming in and it's like, well, yeah, they call me out my name, this, that, and the other thing, and then they turn around and want to have a great sex life, and I'm like, it doesn't equate like that. That the physical and the emotional and the spiritual and intimacy, they're all important. They're equally important. One does not trump the other.
Right. Yeah, it's really important. So, well, did you have any other questions, Pastel? Because I think we might have.
No, might be closing
No.
out. Yeah, one additional comment.
Okay.
We've taught men from the time they're young, but we've taught men so much sexually toxic shit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And culturally, our culture
Yeah, it's both ways.
is both ways.
If the men are being taught something toxic and we're receiving the toxic, it's
Yes.
it's a give and take. So we have to change and liberate ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and then I think that the other thing that we're doing is we're educating, we're evolving, and we're teaching our children something different. So people are like, okay, that's what I experienced, but that's not what I'm going to teach my kids. So that we actually change or at least working to change the culture.
It's
So that
hard.
it, yeah.
I mean, I know my son does not like to hear anything I have to say about sex. He's like, oh, and I'm shit. I'm old, and I don't want to hear. I just got to the point where my mother and I can really have like serious conversations about her sex life. So that's those relationships are where we get to grow, and particularly learn about my mother. Lord, she real human. Along with her ass, she was having a good time. So just learning those things. She talked about the first time she had an orgasm, and in one of her relationships, she tried to talk to the person and say, "Look, I'm not having an orgasm," and the response she got was, "Well, ain't nobody else complain about it." So, just the evolution in how far we've come. My mother's 70-something years old, so.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I think that there's a common misconception that, if we as adults, now we have kids or grandkids or this and another, but if we had premarital sex or we did certain things, we don't want them to know this, that, the other. There's no better teacher than to say, I experienced these things. This was the good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Yeah.
And if you're uncomfortable talking about it, again, which many of us are, that's okay. Get some books. I think a great thing to do is get some books that are age appropriate, and give them a copy. You have a copy, and say, hey, okay, Saturday at 12, we're going to talk about chapter 1. Right? If they give you they will at first, but then once y'all get comfortable, it gets rolling. It's helpful. It's really helpful. There's so many tools out there, podcast, book, whatever, article, whatever it is, video, got to hit them with the medium that they're.
Yep. You don't have to stick with one medium. It's everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But no, go ahead, Sue. I'm sorry. No.
And it's okay to say, this is what I did, and it was challenging. I don't want you to go through that. That's why I want to teach you these things.
Yeah. Because we really get to normalize healthy sex. We get to normalize having conversations about sex. We get to normalize sex positivity and really take it from under this domain of shame and trauma and not being able to express ourselves. And so as we're evolving and being able to do that, I think the neat thing that I came across too is that, of course, the more you do it, the more practice you get at it, the easier it's going to get. And it's going to make a big difference in your experience of sex in the bedroom and your relationship.
Yep.
So.
I'll read the last few comments, and then we can finish. Someone agreed, and when you guys were talking about erotic talk in the bedroom, depending on how you were raised, it can be difficult. Clearly, my cousin is on here. I don't know which one. They said, "Leave Honey Lane alone."
Where's you like? I was like, "Oh, we put Elaine's business out here."
Mind your damn business. Y'all, Elaine lived a life, okay? My mama lived, baby. She lived. She had some fly child. But anyway, as far as talking to kids, start talking before you think it's time in an age-appropriate way, because by the time we think it's time, it might be too late.
I know that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
When
and the last comment is, dang, just when I got warmed up.
I know, right? But you got to go back and watch the beginning. And Sue, you were about to say something about that, talking to them ahead of time.
Oh, yeah, the kids. Rule of thumb is first teach them the real body parts when they're small, little penis, vulva, vagina, clitoris, testicles. Okay. And then keep it going. If that kid's 12, you've waited too long. Okay. You have to start having conversations 9, 10, their bodies are developing, things are going on. Little kids explore young because it's natural. It feels good. They're poking. Okay. Don't shame them. Just say, okay, this is what's appropriate, this is what's not. Have the conversations. If you're too uncomfortable to do it, then you better find your sister, your brother, auntie, grandma, somebody. Conversations need to happen.
Yeah. And they need you to accept their bodies so that they can accept their bodies. Like the whole idea of feeling uncomfortable with your own sexuality. We want to support them with growing into it.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you. So remind them again who you are and how they can find you. Her website is on the screen.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm Sue Walker, and I am a licensed clinical social worker and a certified couples and sex therapist. Whatever you need, I can help you. Premarital sex, premarital counseling, sex therapy, regular couples counseling if there's no sexual issues. But I'm your one-stop shop for anything that you need to enhance your relationship. You can reach me on the website below or the phone number. Whoop, phone number back.
All right, on the phone number back there, yes. So y'all couples, give her a call. Y'all need to talk to somebody by all means.
Yes. Oh, and I am in the state of Maryland. I'm licensed in Maryland only. So if you're in Virginia or DC, I can't see you, but I refer.
Do you do virtual?
I do virtual, but legally they have to reside in the state of Maryland or drive to the state of Maryland. So for me to actually see you.
Oh. Yeah, so find one of your friends is in Maryland and go to their house for your couples therapy. So you can talk to Sue. So just a reminder to everybody, we go live on every Wednesday for No Bra Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we let our girls loose and we say it with our breasts. And as you can see, we've had a powerful conversation today. Oh, I forgot to say what we have going on next week, honey. Next week, you want to make sure you join us. Let's see, where's my little thing I'm going to throw up on the screen? Because next week, we're going to be talking about wigs, weaves, and naturals, honey. We having a black hair town hall. So, grab your ladies. We're going to talk about all of our hair woes and just our hair evolution and what we have going on as Black women with our hair. So you want to make sure you join us for that conversation. We're going to have some experts in the room, but in addition, that's the one we decide we're going to do a town hall, right?
Come in the living room. We're welcoming you into the living room. If you're going on a hair journey, we know all Black women always on
all Black women.
We stay on the highway to hair. So yes. So y'all come. This is everybody's show because I mean, with the new own special hair tails, I believe it's called.
Oh, is it hair tails?
Awesome. Yeah, it's I mean it's a lot deeper than just wigs, weaves and braids. You know. So yeah, it's a historical there's some historical implications. So
we have a lot of history and also a lot of trauma with our hair. So we get to talk about it, and we're constantly on this thing of self-discovery. So we get to have a conversation about what this is because it's it impacts us. It impacts us in so many ways. So join us for that conversation, and we're going to open up the room so that folks can come in and you can share your journey. Yes. All right. So, Pasta, do you have anything else?
Nope. We'll see y'all next week.
We're going to see you next week.
Rewind if you didn't. Please like us on YouTube and invite your friends to the room and to the YouTube page. We love you, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. All right.
Fresh out the oven, straight to the bank. Ben's Hager smelling like bank. Seats, somebody died on them. Kitty looking like somebody cried on it. Ooh, what you looking at? What you looking at? Body like cinnamon roll. Icing on the top if